Right, so chapter 14 of Atonement is the last one of part 1, so it's the end of that initial narrative. Bryony tells everyone a story. She believes that Robbie has raped Lola, remember. As a result, Robbie gets arrested, led away by the police, and then right at the end his mother comes out, Grace Turner, and shouts that the Tallis family are all liars. The first thing that I think is worth looking at is about 5 lines down the chapter on page 173. We're told how guilt refined the methods of self-torture, threading the beads of detail into an eternal loop, a rosary to be fingered for a lifetime. Now, a rosary is a necklace or sort of bracelet made of beads that Catholics wear, and as a touch each bead they'll say a Hail Mary, a prayer for forgiveness. So McEwan uses that as a metaphor for Bryony's guilt, that it's this loop that she keeps coming back to. It's a great link there between language and structure, because the structure of this novel is circular, isn't it? At the end, Bryony's back, watching Trials of Arabella, at her old childhood home. She's gone back over the bridges, so actually it is this big loop. She gives it the happy ending that she sort of wanted to give it. So the structure there echoes exactly what McEwan's saying. We told it's a loop, and actually what we get is a loop of Bryony's guilt. At the end she goes back, but she still feels guilty. On page 175, about 8 to 9 lines down, we're told that Paul Marshall offered them cigarettes from a gold case. That's the police. He's offering them cigarettes from a gold case. Again, that is a great metaphor really, isn't it? Because with his wealth, the gold case, he's able to essentially bribe the police. He is above the law because of his wealth. And him offering them cigarettes from this gold case is sort of a metaphor for what happens later, where Lola and Paul Marshall are so wealthy and so powerful that nobody can really challenge them or bring them to justice. We're told slightly later that, just going to find it, that Cecilia on page 179, about 8 lines down, for a moment Cecilia stood alone in the centre of the room, fluttering the finger of her right hand, staring at them each in turn, unable to believe her association with such people, unable to begin to tell them what she knew. Cecilia basically is aghast that a family can think this of Robbie when she knows the truth. We get 2 more words, don't we, again? Unable to believe, unable to begin. The prefix of un again is crucial, okay? It's what Cecilia can't do, and that focus on Cecilia and Robbie goes throughout the novel. It's always what they don't achieve, what they can't do, the un. We're told at the bottom of page 180, at this early stage the inspector was careful not to oppress the young girl with probing questions, and within this sensitively created space she was able to build and shape her narrative in her own words and establish the key facts. So again, she's building, shaping a narrative, a story. This is a novel about telling stories, and actually blaming Robbie is just another story that she refines and refines over time. On page 182, Robbie returns from the mist. Okay, so he's been out all night, and he comes back with the twins. He's found Jackson and Piero, so actually he's coming back as the hero. He's found these 2 lost sort of boys. How he's described about halfway down page 182 is, here it was, an apparition as inhuman as it was purposeful. They see a giant, they see this giant figure. Now it's because Robbie's got one of the twins on his back, on his shoulders, and he's holding one of them. But as he approaches them, it looks like a giant coming through the mist. So we get a very fairy tale, magical image at this moment. We're reminded again that actually Bryony is in some ways an innocent child, and that innocence and that desire to tell these fairy tale stories and invent these stories around her is a product of her childhood and of Emily Tallis's failings as a mother. We were asked on page 183, about 3/4 of the way down, were they all really bounded by a single day, by one period of unbroken wakefulness, from the innocent rehearsals of play to the emergence of the giant from the mist? So basically Bryony's contemplating, how is this possible? In one day we've gone from rehearsing a play to seeing Robbie come from the mist and be arrested as this rapist. So that symbolises, doesn't it, that sudden loss of innocence, the jump from a childhood play to actually accusing somebody of rape. But that word bounded is important. Remember, Bryony likes to bind these books. She's bound a book, that's when she feels it's ready and it's written. So again, that comes in as a bit of a metaphor. This is within the book that she has bounded as her story, but actually she has bound the fate of everyone as well. So again, that line and that word is particularly important. We're told at halfway down page 184, the mist was still there, but it was brighter as though illuminated from within. And again, I think McEwan's focusing on mist, uncertainty. It's not black and white, is it? That actually this is something that Bryony internalises and gradually has to live with. On page 185, halfway down, Bryony sees Cecilia speak to Robbie before he's led away. Remember, Cecilia never doubts him. And we're told Bryony was touched by her sister's capacity for forgiveness, if this was what it was. Forgiveness. So on its own, one word in a sentence, forgiveness. And I think again that foreshadows the importance of forgiveness later on. Bryony, remember, won't let them forgive her. Even when she writes this sort of fictional story where she goes back to them, she still doesn't allow herself to be forgiven. So that word on its own is a product of actually Bryony's childhood, living with her forever. That loop that's mentioned earlier on, it's all about trying to achieve forgiveness, the atonement that she never actually can. As Robbie's led away, about 6 lines down on page 186, we're told it should have ended there. This seemly day that had wrapped itself around a summer's night, it should have concluded then. So we're told that this should have been a neat story where the villain Robbie is led away. But again, with use of that word should, we know that life's not as easy as that. Again, we see that Bryony's love for control and need for control doesn't actually work in reality. It should have ended there, but life's not as neat as that. Again, the seamless day, it's like a bound story, isn't it? Wrapped around a summer's night. Okay, that circular structure that Bryony needs. But actually what happens is Grace runs out and she sort of she has an umbrella and she's sort of shouting at the police, and it's almost comical, but actually also really tragic because the sun's been taken away. And that description on about halfway down page 186, she's got a man's umbrella with a goose's head, the horn sounded, we're told that the policeman took her by the elbow, and then the constable's half pushed, half carried her to the edge of the drive. She began to shout a single word so loudly that Bryony could hear it in the bedroom: liars, liars, liars. Again, for class, it's brilliant. Grace Turner is right, but it doesn't matter, she's led away because she's the one who does not have the power. And then right at the end of the chapter, 187, the last couple of lines, we're told she looked hopeless, then she stopped, hands on hips, to watch as it went over the first bridge, crossed the island and then the second bridge. So again, it's bridges at these moments of transition, at these key moments. It's over those two bridges, because this is a moment that can never be sort of returned to. We've crossed the bridge, we've gone past the threshold, we can't ever get this innocence back. And then we're told, and finally, vanished into the whiteness. So it ends actually on white, mark possibly of Robbie's innocence, mark of Bryony's lost innocence and lost childhood with that white, and also possibly a sense of death. Okay, that fade to white that foreshadows the deaths of Robbie and Cecilia, and also the vanishing of truth. From here on in, everything Bryony writes is imagined and put together after the event. And that is how part one of the novel concludes.